Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, coming to you live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. National Assembly Joint Committee on INEC concludes sitting on 2019 election budget proposal to submit reports to Appropriation Committee for further action. Detained journalist Samuel Ogundikwe regains freedom 3 days after he was arrested for alleged possession of classified documents. One killed, several others trapped as acting President Professor Yemi Osinbajo visits scene of building collapse in Abuja. And death toll from India flooding doubles, with more than 320 feared killed. ChannelsTV.com has more information for you, and on youtube.com/channelsweb you can watch our videos. You can also watch us on your mobile device via your browser or download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS devices from their respective stores. Besides giving you access to news updates on the go, the Channels TV and Channels 24 app has an eyewitness feature that you can use to share pictures, videos or news of happenings around you. Just install the app, then tap and swipe to reveal the menu and then follow the instructions. Well, let's get another perspective on this swap deal. I'm now being joined on the news at 10 by the Director General of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Muda Yusuf. Thanks a lot for joining us on the news at 10.
Thank you very much, Ijoma.
All right, so this has been well established in other parts of the world. So what would you say the position of the private sector is, regarding it?
I think it is a good development, having regard to the volume of trade between Nigeria and China. China is actually the leading trading partner with Nigeria. So that is one very good thing. And it will also facilitate trade in the sense that it will avoid or save importers the trouble of having to go through, having to get an intermediary currency. You can trade directly now with the yuan, rather than get the dollar, then buy the yuan, and so on. So I think it has some benefits to that extent. But I think we need to manage expectations in all of this. First, if you look at the materiality of the amount that we are talking about, we are talking about $2.5 billion over 3 years. Whereas in 2017 alone, the volume of trade between Nigeria and China was about 14 billion. The totality of trade between Nigeria and other countries was over $70 billion. So if you are talking about $2.5 billion over 3 years, when you relate that to $14 billion of trade in a single year, you can see that the 2.5 billion is really peanuts. This is something that you can exhaust even within 6 months.
So are you saying it's not really leverage for us?
No, it is good. But what I'm saying is that we should manage expectations. Because I've heard some comments that this will strengthen the Naira, this will boost our foreign reserves, and so on and so forth. So the materiality of the numbers that you have is not likely to have the kind of macroeconomic level effect that some people have talked about.
In the long term or in the short term? Put it into perspective.
Even both in the short and the long term, because this is a small amount compared to the volume of trade. But at the micro level, I'm talking about maybe pockets of industry that may benefit from this. There will be some advantage. And the good thing about this is that it's not something that will be open to all commerce. It's not something that will be used for any kind of imports. The indications from the central bank is that this will be used specifically for manufacturing and agriculture, basically for machineries and other inputs that are used in these two key sectors.
Okay, so quickly now, I mean, the CBN has conducted about 2 auctions so far.
Yeah.
Do you think they have all it takes, to make this work?
Of course they have. I mean, it's a swap. Swap, because the essence of a swap is that you have the yuan, they have the naira. So they have what it takes. There's no problem about that. But the challenge again is that trade is about import and export. It is difficult to imagine a Nigerian exporter that want to export and you want naira. It is not going to happen. And even now, with the trade war that is taking place between China and the United States, the Chinese currency is getting weakened. And the weaker the currency, the more they will also prefer to trade in dollars.
So do you think there should be any key changes or key amendments, to it?
Well, there may be, as time goes on, at least we can play around with maybe the exchange rate and all of that, because the circular itself was not very specific about what exchange rate will be used. I mean, that could be modified as we progress with the deal.
So what would you have preferred to see in this deal? Since you're saying we should manage our expectations, a lot of what you have heard seems to be, I don't want to say hot air, but a lot of what you have heard is very optimistic. What would you have preferred?
Perhaps if the amount involved is much bigger, then we can accommodate even more players or more participants or more importers, into the transactions or the deal that will happen. But given the amount that is involved, it cannot have the kind of very significant impact that we'll expect from a deal like this.
Our Director General of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Muda Yusuf, thanks for joining us on the News at Time.
Thank you very much.
Let's cross over to Abuja now. Here's Linda Akive. Hey, Linda.
Hello, Ijoma. Good to see you. Now, the acting president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, has visited the scene of a building collapse in the Jabi district of Abuja, where one person is feared killed, many injured, and several others trapped. The acting president said he is satisfied with rescue efforts and gave the assurance of adequate emergency response from government emergency agencies to forestall further deaths. Eyewitnesses say the building had been abandoned for many years and construction had just resumed before the collapse. Rescue of trapped victims commenced immediately by the FCT Emergency Management Agency and the Abuja Development Control Agency.
I think that as far as the whole process of ensuring that those who may be trapped under this collapsed building, the whole process of ensuring that they are rescued is well underway. As you can see, all of the emergency equipment are here, the earth movers and all the equipment that are required are here. And I think that there is enough for us to expect that this should at least end in our being able to rescue anyone who may still be trapped in this building. I'm quite satisfied so far with the level of the activities to ensure that this very unfortunate incident is not made worse by loss of lives.
Members of the Senior Staff Association of Electricity and Allied Companies who are protesting and calling for the dismissal of the Managing Director of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, are now divided as a faction sympathetic with the embattled Managing Director in Abuja now criticized the national body of the Workers' Union for organizing last Tuesday's protest. Led by the president of a TCN chapter of the union in Abuja, the faction held a solidarity rally in support of the managing director of TCN and disassociated itself from a national body.
On Tuesday, August the 14th, staff of the Transmission Company of Nigeria and the Ministry of Power, Works and Housing in Abuja were prevented from accessing their offices as protesters from the Senior Staff Association of Electricity and Allied Companies blocked the ministry's entry gate, calling for the sack of the Managing Director of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN. 3 days after that protest was held, the TCN chapter of the Senior Staff Association of Electricity and Allied Companies is holding this counter-protest in support of the embattled Managing Director of TCN and disassociating itself from the actions of the national body.
We have been engaging management on labor issues as well as the welfare of the members. We don't have crisis in Transmission Company of Nigeria. He has also resorted to declaring crisis in transmission by going to get distribution and generation staff to come and talks. If you look at the last protest they did, they brought talks. No member of the Transmission Company of Nigeria Senior Staff Association was with them. They came with talks, orange sellers. They went and give them regalia to come and protest against the management. It is unfortunate.
This counter-protest is an apparent indication of a crack in the workers' union, as both the national body of the union and its TCN chapter trade blames.
I understand that he called them yesterday after our protest of day before yesterday, because they are in the various stations. I was told reliably that he summoned them for a meeting in his office yesterday. We are told. So the meeting is not, I am not surprised that, I don't know that the meeting was a prelude to today's protest. What is really happening is that MD, as far as I'm concerned, is polarizing our union for his personal interests. The MD is deviating from the main issues. I challenge MD. I challenge him to respect the summon of Federal Minister of Labor. Let's meet there and discuss. Why is he running away? We want to face him.
The problem we have is Comrade Chris Okonkwo, since he lost the bid to be the GM Lagos, a situation whereby he mobilized some of us to go hand and twist the management at making him the GM Lagos. And we told him that labor is about collective bargaining in the interest of the members. It's not about the interest of an individual.
Some of the issues leading to the Tuesday's protest and this counter-protest are nagging industrial issues that can be resolved in a round table. And the earlier this is done, the better, because many believe that instability in the transmission company of Nigeria will adversely affect other players in the nation's electricity sector.
When the News at 10 returns, Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation agrees to list 40% of its shares on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, awaits presidential approval for Petroleum Industry Governance Bill. Please stay with us.